Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, an Emmy nomination for a familiar face. The Village finally finds a temporary manager. Who is he? And we will soon see a new office building in Oxford.
Stay tuned, learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. Kyle Snage, a talented member of the OCTV production staff, has been nominated to receive an Emmy from the Michigan chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. The Michigan State Communications graduate is among the team of filmmakers, Kimberly Wells and Ken LaPlace, who produced the documentary Irene, Child of the Holocaust. Production is based on the true story of Oakland County resident Irene Miller, who escaped to Russia from Nazi-occupied Poland during World War II. Kyle said listening to her story gave him a greater appreciation for how very lucky he is to live in America. Congratulations from all of us at OCTV.
The Oxford Village Council finally decided on contracting a temporary manager through the LLC Vitrano Consulting Firm. Last week, James Vitrano, chief executive of the Rochester-based firm, agreed to fill the spot until a full-time manager is found. Vitrano brings with him 17 years of multiple municipal management experience, with the most recent for the city of Rochester from 2008 to 2015. Vitrano said he expects to be a familiar face for at least the next 4 weeks after village attorney Bob Davis approves the contract.
A recent report by S&P Global Ratings upgraded the Village of Oxford's long-term credit rating from A to AA rating. Because the Village general fund balance is nearly $500,000, the rating recognizes the Village as having a very strong future ability to meet its financial obligations. Village budget recently received the financial boost when private 911 dispatch services were dropped earlier this year. Decision by the council freed up nearly $150,000 from the budget.
Local builder Dave Weckel won approval from the Village of Oxford Planning Commission to build a two-story, 7,000 square foot building on East Burdick Street. This is the first of a three-phase proposal by Weckel, and it will be used for primary office space and a 55-space parking lot. Construction is expected to begin in late July.
Jacob Donovan, an Oxford High School junior, is earning his Eagle Scout badge and by building two safety barriers under charcoal grills located at the Stony Lake Township Park. Director of Oxford Township Parks and Recreation, Ron Davis, said he appreciates all the work and effort Donovan and his Troop 366 are putting into the project. Expected to be completed this summer.
That's a really great project. That's it for Oxford News This Week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories or others, catch us on the web at OCCTV.org, on YouTube, and of course on our regular cable channel, Charter Channel 191 or AT&T.
Coming up next on OCTV, your very own Cody Wright with the sports to report, and then catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. And you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Canine Stray Rescue does just that. Rescue stray dogs for new families. But they need your help. Become a volunteer at Canine Stray Rescue League of Michigan. Take dogs for walks, help them socialize with others, and help them get adopted. Fill out an application and help a family add a new member today.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, AlphaGo is at it again. Google DeepMind's Go-playing AI has defeated KG, the world's #1 player in the first of 3 games played in Wushan, China. The AI won by just half a point, the smallest possible margin of victory, in a match that lasted 4 hours and 15 minutes. Though the scoreline looks close, AlphaGo was in the lead from relatively early on in the game. Since the AI favors moves that are more likely to guarantee victory, it doesn't usually trounce its opponents. In March of last year, AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol, one of the world's top Go players, winning 4 out of 5 matches. The AI challenged more Go masters in January of 2017, winning a series of 50 online games, including 2 victories against KG. In a press conference after the AI's latest victory, Kay said the AlphaGo had clearly learned from its recent victories against Go champions. In the past, it had some weaknesses, but now I feel that its understanding of the Go game and its judgments are beyond our ability, he told an audience through a translator. Wow. And on the medical front, the most successful treatment for type 2 diabetes may work by changing the makeup of gut bacteria. Metformin is commonly prescribed to help people with type 2 diabetes control their blood sugar. It is also being tested as an anti-aging treatment. The drug is generally believed to work by reducing the amount of glucose made in the liver, which would in turn lower blood sugar levels. But some observations suggest this isn't the whole story. For instance, a slow-release version of the drug appears to be just as effective, even though only small amounts of it ever reach the liver. And metformin works just as well in people with genetic variants that stop it from getting to the liver. Fredrik Backard at the University of Gothenburg in Sweden and Jose Manuel Fernandez Real at the University of Girona in Spain wondered if gut bacteria may play a role in the drug's action. After all, the trillions of bugs that line our intestines have been linked to a range of diseases that are known to influence drug metabolism. The pair and their colleagues recruited 40 volunteers who were newly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Each person was randomly assigned, that is, to take metformin or a placebo for 4 months. All of them were placed on a low-calorie diet. During the study period, the collection of gut bacteria changed much more dramatically in those taking metformin. In particular, the drug seemed to encourage the growth of strains of bacteria called Akkermansia and Bifidobacterium. Lab experiments revealed that both types also grew faster in the presence of metformin. The researchers then took stool samples from 3 people before and after course of metformin and fed them to mice that were on a high-fat diet to mimic human type 2 diabetes. The technique, known as fecal transplant, is thought to pass a beneficial bacteria from the gut of a healthy individual to a sickly one. Feces taken from metformin-treated individuals seem to improve glucose tolerance, a measure of how well animals can control blood sugar levels, in mice that receive samples from 2 of the 3 donors. But feces taken from people before their treatment had no effect on any of the mice. Together, the results suggest that metformin at least partly works by encouraging the growth of gut bacteria, such as Akkermansia, which can influence blood sugar levels. However, the researchers still don't know how the bacteria might be doing this. Beckert hopes that some people with diabetes might get similar benefits by modifying their diets to change the makeup of their gut bacteria, for example, by encouraging the growth of Akkermansia and Bifidobacterium. Wow. And still on the medical front, the number of new hepatitis C infections in the U.S. has nearly tripled in the past 5 years. New infections have reached a 15-year high, with 34,000 cases occurring in 2015, according to data released by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC. Hepatitis C is the deadliest infectious disease in the U.S. If left untreated, it can lead to liver failure or cancer. The rise in new infections has been particularly rapid among young, white people in rural parts of states in the Appalachian, Midwestern, and New England regions. CDC officials say the boom is mainly due to increased use of injected drugs related to the ongoing opioid epidemic. To curb the surge of infections, they suggest tackling the causes of the opioid epidemic and introducing needle exchange schemes that also include testing for infectious diseases. We have a cure for this disease and the tools to prevent new infections, says John Ward, director of CDC's Division of Viral Hepatitis. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
There's a lot of history to Oxford. Hidden around every corner, deep in every crack, and sometimes right in front of you, waiting to be discovered. If you just dig a little, you'll find the great history of our beautiful town. Welcome to historic Oxford.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcats School Update. The teaching of Chinese may be eliminated from the regular school day at our elementary schools by the fall of 2020. Assistant Superintendent of Instruction Ken Weaver appeared before the school board last week to introduce the plan. It has to do with the difficulty of the language and the new reading requirements. I asked Weaver if the goal is to allow more time for the reading.
Sort of thing? So to speak, but not directly. What it was to try to, first of all, to lessen up on the academic load of a child. Being a level 4 language, it's much more difficult to learn. Now in K-5, the argument could be made that, okay, they're not really learning characters and so forth, but now you've spent 6 years trying to learn a language that gets extremely difficult, especially in middle school, and we've started to introduce even more characters and trying to read and write in the elementary, but it becomes, you now have a child that has spent the last 5-6 years learning a language that the difficulty really, it becomes very hard for the child. So we really wanted to look at it and see what could we do to lessen that academic strain on our children, and also allow us to be able to intervene with reading. So because we were looking at it, one of the questions on the survey was, would you allow your child to miss some world language time if they were having difficulty with their reading? It came back overwhelmingly in support.
If the plan is approved, Spanish would be our new primary second language. Kent explained the rationale.
Plus, quite honestly, we probably have more Spanish speakers in the area. There's more of a chance. Most parents had, you know, if they've had any world language, they've had some exposure to Spanish. They can help their child a little bit more. There's more resources available for Spanish speakers. So it looked like it was determined at that point by district administration that Spanish was a better option for all kids. And that's what this decision is about.
Weaver says Chinese might still be offered as an extra class outside of the regular school day for those interested. More on Schooling Around. Another 5th grade exhibition is coming up, this one at Clear Lake Elementary. Jack Woodruff, Holden Jones, Brady Chinato, and Brendan Skovic make up one of the groups. They tell us their topic.
The subject of our project is pollution.
Why did you choose pollution?
We thought that it was a problem that people don't really know how bad it is, or not aware of how awful it is. So we wanted to inform people, make them more aware of the dangers of pollution.
I asked International Baccalaureate Coordinator Stephanie Nemi if this ties into a bigger theme.
Students in the 5th grade are learning about who they are, and so they're thinking about things that they've experienced in the past that might influence the people that they become later. So this group in particular, they've been thinking about how just their general experience in the community. When we first started talking about action, it was funny because they all had noticed one place in town, particularly over by Meyer, that they thought really kind of looked like
Welcome to Oxford.
Yeah, it was like kind of like a sad welcome to Oxford because they saw a lot of trash.
Brendan and the kids tell us more about their line of inquiry.
My line of inquiry is, what difference can we make?
And what we want you to do is to go into your house and find the stuff and just look around and find stuff that may not be all that earth friendly, and then go online and try to find more friendly ways to make it and use it.
Get your pencil. Here's some recipes you might be able to use.
Disinfectant can be made from just 1 cup of water and a cup of rubbing alcohol, and it actually ends up being cheaper than your regular disinfectant and works just as well.
As we move from May to June, we're reminded that graduation time is near. That has a way of bringing some interesting and heartwarming stories of the challenges some of our kids have faced as they earn their diploma. Jorge Guaita will be one of the graduates of our Bridges High School. His father was deported when he was only 6 years old, forcing his mother to work extra jobs to get by. One thing led to another, causing stress on his educational life until Bridges was presented as a viable option.
And then when I asked people about it, they told me it was a bad school, that like, good luck going to that school because it was a terrible school. When I came here and met all the teachers and started like talking to other students, they all were nice. Like they were all welcoming. They were nothing as they were portrayed by everyone else because they were different. And
grades started getting better too, I imagine, huh?
yeah, I started doing a little bit better academically, and I started doing my classes, but also I slacked a little bit. But the teachers were always on top of me and always helping me get to the next step.
Jorge is planning to go to OCC. That's the Oxford School Update for this week. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
Welcome to American Legion in Oxford for the best fish on Fridays. That's right, from noon to 8:30. You can get the best walleye in Michigan. You can get walleye, baked cod, chicken strips, baked potatoes, and more. On the hall side of the Legion, oh, hello there, friends. You can have 12 friends on a table, any one of the best military museums in Michigan. And the dining side, oh, hello again. More comfortable with many 4-seat tables and a couple of 5-seaters. Now on Friday we usually have about 400 to 500 of best friends for our fish. Carry-out? You bet. We have 50 to 60 carry-outs at the post. We have some young friends with the birthdays and some of our best seniors at the post. Oh yeah, waitresses, they go like a track waitress to get your food. If you have never enjoyed our secret's famous walleye at the Legion, come on in. Every Friday from noon to 8:30 at the American Legion Post 108 on 130 East Rainer Road, Oxford.
Do you love local sports? Whether it's Oxford High School or Parks and Rec, you can buy copies of each game. To purchase your copy, call us at 248-628-9658 or give us an email at manager@occtv.org or talk to us at the next game. Hopefully we'll see you there.
What's up, Oxford fans? Cody Wright here with the Sports Report. We've had a cold and wet spring, but that hasn't changed the fact that we have had a great overall season. Well, the clock is winding down, so let's take a look at how the teams are wrapping things up. The boys varsity baseball team spent all week on the road and struggled to set things off, falling to Romeo on Monday 11-1 and Kettering on Tuesday 3-0. Wednesday they then turned things around in a doubleheader against Avondale, taking both games to the books 6-5 and 10-5. The JV club was also successful this week, starting off at home against Romeo on Monday, taking the win 7-6. Tuesday, Kettering showed up in Wildcat grass, and we took them down as well, 5-3. The boys then hit the road on Wednesday and took on Avondale, completely pummeling them 13-1. And of course, freshmen played as well, all games at home. Monday against Romeo, where we struggled badly, falling 11-2. Tuesday, we then took on Clarkston in a doubleheader, turning things around. The freshman boys won both games by large margins, 14-2 and 11-0. As we know, our boys varsity lacrosse club, the league champs, have been competing in playoffs. We took on Lapeer Monday at home, where we hosted the Division I regionals. The boys brought a lot of energy and crushed Lapeer 16-2. Wednesday, we then took on Midland. The first 3 quarters went very well with 3 goals from Spencer Petoskey, 2 from Dryden Calcaterra, and more. However, the fourth quarter, energy switched to the Midlands, and we got caught not looking. It was hard to stop them after they got rolling, and we lost in sudden death overtime 9-8. I just want to say I had a great time watching the guys play this season, and I think I speak for everyone when I say I can't wait for next year. And girls varsity soccer also played this week on the road. Monday they took on Athens and they shut us out with a final score of 4-0. Wednesday we then took on Groves High School and took the win by a hair, 1-0. Soccer is usually a very defensive game, which makes it low scoring, so it was nice to get that one by for the W. And last but not least, girls varsity softball went on the road Monday and took on Lakeland. The game was fairly even, but we came out on top 5-4. The next day we then took on Grand Blanc in a doubleheader at home. Keeping up the energy from the night before, our girls smoked the girls 13-3 in the first game. The second game wasn't as drastic, however, we still won 6-4. And that should just about wrap up this week's report. For more info on these games, go to oxfordathletics.org. You can look at the overall records of all the Oxford sports teams from all the seasons, fall season, winter, and of course spring. Again, that's oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, check us out at OCCTV.org. All of our sports coverage can be viewed on our YouTube channel, which can be accessed through the website or on your local channel on Saturdays and Sundays between 1 and 6. Again, that is OCCTV.org. And that should do it for this week's report. I want to thank you all for watching. I'm Cody Wright. We'll see you soon.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, Ford, in a sweeping management shakeup, named Jim Hackett, former CEO of Steelcase, as its new chief executive, replacing Mark Fields, who was stepping down amid pressure from shareholders over a slumping stock price and during a period of rapid transformation and disruption that is rocking the auto industry. Hackett, who also helped revive the University of Michigan football team by hiring coach Jim Harbaugh during a tenure as interim athletic director, replaces Mark Fields, 56, who was recently pressured by board management and shareholders over a slumping stock price and strategy. Hackett, 62, most recently served as chairman of Ford's Smart Mobility. Ford created that subsidiary last year to handle its investments in autonomous vehicles and new mobility services. Fields has been pouring billions into self-driving cars and ride-sharing experiments as its traditional car business has struggled in a slowing U.S. market. Hackett said much of this job will involve motivating the team at Ford, something he did while at U of M and Steelcase. Ford said Fields has elected to retire from Ford after 28 years with the company. Ford said company directors made the decision after a May 19th board meeting. Fields, 56, had been under pressure for the company's lagging stock price and lower than expected profits so far this year. Still at Ford, Ford Motor Company on May 19th said it's investing $350 million in its Livonia transmission plant as part of a commitment it made to its 2015 deal with the UAW. The automaker said the investment will support a new transmission for front-wheel drive vehicles. The move will create or retain 800 jobs. Ford did not say how many of the 800 jobs will be new, and a spokesman said Ford expects the majority to be filled by current Ford workers. It expects to begin adding jobs late this year, with the majority coming next year and in 2019. Last year, it announced a $1.4 billion investment to make its new 10-speed transmission, which first rolled out on its F-150 and Raptor pickups. Ford said the new transmission, which will increase fuel efficiency, will share some software and design components with its 10-speed. The news comes 2 days after Ford announced it would cut about 1,400 salaried positions in North America and Asia in a cost-cutting move. And at FCA, the U.S. government has filed a civil lawsuit accusing Fiat Chrysler Automobiles of using software to bypass emission controls in diesel vehicles. The U.S. Justice Department suit, filed in the U.S. District Court in Detroit, is a procedural step that may ramp up pressure on Fiat Chrysler. The suit could ultimately lead to a settlement, as in earlier probe of rival Volkswagen AG that will cost VW up to $25 billion, but which affected a much larger group of vehicles. VW admitted to intentionally cheating, while Fiat Chrysler denies wrongdoing. FCA said in a statement that it is reviewing the complaint. It has been working with the EPA and California regulators to, clarify issues related to emissions control technology on the 2014 and 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokee and Ram 1500 diesel vehicles. The automaker said it is disappointed that the government chose to file the lawsuit. The suit also names Fiat Chrysler's unit VM Motori SPA, which designed the engine in question. Reuters reported 2 weeks ago that Justice Department and EPA have obtained internal emails and other documents written in Italian that look at engine development and emissions issue that raise significant questions. The investigation has scrutinized VM Motori. FCA acquired a 50% stake in VM Motori in 2010 and the remainder in October of 2013. The lawsuit asserts the automaker placed undeclared defeat devices or auxiliary emission controls in 2014 to 2016 Fiat Chrysler diesel vehicles that led to much higher than allowable levels of nitrogen oxide or NOx pollution, which is linked to smog formation and respiratory problems. The suit seeks injunctive relief and unspecified civil penalties. EPA said in January the maximum fine is about $4.6 billion. Fiat Chrysler faces separate ongoing criminal investigation on the emissions, same issue by the Justice Department and probed by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and many U.S. states. In January, EPA in California accused Fiat Chrysler of illegally using undisclosed software to allow excess diesel emissions in 104,000 U.S. 2014 to 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokees and Dodge Ram 1500 trucks. Fiat Chrysler said on May 19th it plans to update software that it expects will resolve the concerns of U.S. regulators about excess emissions in those vehicles. The January notice was the result of regulators' investigation of rival Volkswagen, which prompted the government to review emissions from all other passenger diesel vehicles. That story is not over yet. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.